exactly 12:31 a.m. and we're on to our final interview for the morning right here on the Mid-Morning Talk Show with me, Julie Ali. I do hope you've enjoyed the previous interviews, and this interview is equally important and interesting. We're talking with the endometriosis, we're talking rather with the founder of the Heal Endo movement, and it has to do with endometriosis in South Africa and globally. And this is, of course, very sadly, something that women live with. Most women who are diagnosed with the condition. It is all about invisible pain. It's about other people who've never experienced this, not understanding what you're going through. So my guest, of course, is Bontle Moka. A very good afternoon to you. Welcome. You are the founder of the Heal Endo movement. Lovely to have you on the show. What drove you to found this movement?
Hi, Julie. Thank you so much for having me, and greetings to everyone listening or maybe watching. So, what really, pushed me was my own lived experience. I was diagnosed in 2019, but this was after, a long journey of dealing with pain. I would say since my period started at about 12 years old, and just investigating since then. It's been pain, it's been, leg pain, back pain, heavy flow, heavy periods, and eventually I got the diagnosis, and I've been advocating for the past 5 years really the true impact of endometriosis. And I have, lived experience with fibroids, PCOS, as these conditions are so linked and may look the same as well. So that's really what got me into my advocacy.
Let's start with the reality on the ground. When we say the condition endometriosis is invisible, what does that actually look like in the daily lives with the women you work with and your own lived experience? It must have been horrific, where people probably fobbed you off as a drama queen. She's always complaining, she's always in pain.
Yes. Yeah. So I actually tell people that it's not as invisible as you think it is. If you pay attention, and I don't think you have to pay too much close attention, but if you just pay attention to someone that may be in pain every single day, you notice the things where they might be hunched over, they might be maybe eating a certain way or taking painkillers or maybe taking extra days off work. There's, a few things that are some telltale signs that someone might be going through something. And for most of us, at least also with lived experience, most times in a month, you are in debilitating pain. So at some point, those around you will notice that you're just in excruciating pain. And it's it's difficult, especially with the normalization of pain, with being gaslit, saying you are a drama queen, you're a woman, you're meant to push through and be resilient. It's just part of it. So it gets difficult. You either end up hiding it even more, or you don't talk about it, and I guess the cycle continues, and we don't break that stigma of dealing with pain and normalizing it.
So, we know the stories. We know how the story unfolds. Many women are told that their pain is normal. You're a woman. So, this is what women experience. But at what point does this medical negligence, is realized, and, the misunderstanding starts falling away? And you're an advocate, but what type of communication needs to happen with other women amongst their family for them to understand what she's going through, and the pain is real, and how she can or should be supported?
So I will say, because endometriosis can also affect, younger girls, younger menstruators, younger women. There may be signs to look out for, to start with the communication that, hey, when you start your period, or at a certain point in your life, you may go through this phase. And it's important to educate from that point, including, I think, the boy child, that this is not meant to be painful. It may have some cramps and there may be some heavy flow every now and then, but if it's at a point that you're throwing up, you're fainting, you can't really function at the level, at the stage of when you're a child, it's important to communicate that that's not normal. You should probably investigate that. And so starting from when you're young and then growing up in the home, it's important to then also have that conversation, not just with mom, but with dad as well, so that everyone can just be able to identify that pushing through and pain is not part of just the cycle. And with endometriosis, it doesn't affect you just on your period. It will affect you your entire cycle. So the entire month there is something most likely going on. So if you look at those different phases in your cycle, you can see sometimes that it might be ovary pain leading up to your period, and afterwards it's headaches. There's the drop or increase in certain hormones. And then also, sometimes we don't speak about PMDD, but usually with endo you can deal with PMDD, where your moods, your emotions are so intense that in worst cases you even have suicidal thoughts. So these are all signs that we need to communicate and look at in the home, and including the male figure, if I can put it that way. And and then that conversation will flow into the workplace, into society, and then into government, and then just incorporating everyone, so that it's normal to know that, one, we can see when someone needs to take some time off for their pain days, if I can put it that way. And then it just becomes a normal conversation, so starting from very young and then in different spaces of society.
So you talk about PMDD, is that post menstrual depression?
So that, let me get the actual, it's pre-menstrual dysphoric disorder. So
Oh,
this is usually where people are dealing with so much, anxiety, depression. I think it's usually that time when people are like, "Oh, you must be on your period," or "Your period's coming
yeah.
soon," and then you're extra emotional, if I can put it that way. But sometimes, in worst cases, it's, if I'm not mistaken, it has been recognized in the mental health diagnostic um, side of it. I could be wrong, but it is a serious issue where it is related to your period. But there's times, including myself, where I've just experienced that I really, I'm not okay, and to the point that those thoughts, the ideation, comes, but it's something that you can't really explain. It's just outside of you, and sometimes it is difficult to miss because people might think it's linked to environmental factors or other things, and it's just, no, this is connected to something that's happening within me that I cannot control.
In a South African context where public health care is already under severe pressure, how much of endometriosis is being missed entirely, especially amongst working class women?
It's honestly a lot. So the statistics globally, we know it's over 200 million who are affected by this condition. That's about 1 in 10. And even with that global statistic, according to the World Health Organization, I personally believe is not accurate. So in South Africa, it's difficult to even access those numbers or how prevalent. But you see so many people, because of the cultural stigma or just what it is in society, and the barriers, let's say, in the workplace, and just what we have to deal with on a daily, you find many women are not sharing this, and so those conversations aren't happening. um but it's just this cycle where there's this shame, there's this pushing through, again, back to the normalization of pain. And because a lot of women have to work almost 2, 3 times harder than, the next person, being known to have a condition that is potentially debilitating. You might be seen as weaker or almost a biological liability. And many women who I've spoken to say that when I shared that I have this condition, or when I took days off and they investigated why, there was a shift in energy and how I was looked at. Opportunities missed me. Some have lost their jobs, and I think that comes from that negative stereotype and not really accepting this condition. Yeah, it's a significant barrier, and it's difficult to find that information as well at times.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another very important question before we go to an ad break, and that is, of course, in our communities, there is the cultural barrier here too. Pain, especially menstrual pain, is often minimized. We know this. Earlier on, I said you've probably been labeled as a drama queen, but also that perhaps you're accused of wanting attention. She's just trying to attend, gain attention by pretending. Sorry. How much is stigma and silence contributing to late diagnosis and poor care?
I think with South Africa and just the African context as a whole, there is a deep cultural barrier, if I can put it that way, that has created this shame, this guilt, where women, like as you mentioned, we are just meant to be strong, meant to be just so resilient, because we don't want to be seen as just complaining, or this is just part of the being a woman. And in many times, especially in places where roles are still very much traditional, which is, is still quite a lot of families, quite a lot of people, it's not normal, it's not okay to talk about your period. This is in churches, this is in spaces where it's religious spaces, it's in the workplace, it's in the home. So it's in almost every aspect that the girl child or a woman, you keep this a secret and you push through, because this is how you're meant to show up and be resilient and strong. But being strong and resilient doesn't mean suffering silently. I don't think that's okay or normal to have to just be quiet and push through when you're in pain and suffering.
Okay, Bontle Moka is the founder of the Heal Endo movement. She's talking to us about the silent disease, the silent condition, which sadly only besets us as women. And that, of course, is endometriosis. We will be talking lots more about it right after the ad break.
Searching for elite local and international investment and advisory services from an award-winning firm? Look no further than the Belmont Mayer Group, your gateway to unparalleled investment and wealth management. At Belmont Mayer, we believe in the art of wealth creation, a meticulous process fueled by our unwavering commitment to excellence. With a focus on providing elite alternative investments and quality advice, we also pride ourselves on maximizing value for our esteemed investors, as seen through our consistent outperformance. Your financial success is our top priority. Join us at Belmont Mayer and experience the difference firsthand. Ready to embark on a journey of greatness? Contact us today. Reach out to the Belmont Mayer Group on 078 786 1698. Call or WhatsApp or email us at info@belmontmayer.com. Elevate your financial future with Belmont Mayer, where every detail matters.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself with her spectacular beauty. Relax beneath her serene sunsets and explore wildlife at its natural best. It's where the pride of Africa comes together. The Kwantu Private Game Reserve. Get to know the Big Five or cruise on an elephant safari game drive. Interact with lion and tiger cubs and enjoy world-class halal cuisine while we pamper you during your 5-star stay. Indulge in the true African experience. For reservations reservations. Call now on 042 203 1400 or visit quantu.co.za. The Quantu Private Game Reserve, the place of gathering.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic, Sharia, and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
Elite Basmati, available throughout the Middle East, and now for the very first time exclusive to South Africa. Brought to you by Murchison Spice, Peter Marisburg's most famous specialty store. Elite Basmati, available in aromatic white and golden cellar, is packaged in a world-class facility in India and is filled with wholesome goodness for your well-being. Elite Basmati rice by Murchison Spice. For trade inquiries, contact Mohammed on 033 387 2121. Murchison Spice.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
It is exactly 12:47 a.m. We are talking, rather PM. We're talking with Bontle Moka. She's the founder of the Heal Endo movement. So, Bontle, the all-important question is your role. You are the founder of the Endo movement. But let's talk about what exactly it is that you do as the founder, and also through this Endo movement. I'm sure you're hearing real stories. What's one story or pattern that has stayed with you, and what does it reveal about our system and the support that we're giving to our women who suffer from this condition?
Thank you. I think there's quite a lot that I can think of, especially because, being an advocate and then living with something, you know what it's like to deal with pain, and to have so many women say that, my partner just doesn't understand or thinks I'm making it up. I'm spending so much money. We're going to the doctor all the time. It can be painful to hear some of the stories. And if I could think of some, to be honest, one that comes to mind, which just speaks to that silence and normalization of pain. There had been someone who, in fact, a few people who have mentioned that they found out, that they were dealing with endometriosis after years of pain. So it didn't just, happen one year and then the next day. They were suffering for a long time, only to find that 2-3 other women, including mom, grandmother, and aunt, had been dealing with the same condition, and yet none of them knew. So for me, I'm mentioning that specific one is because had they, just had the conversation, or there must have been a breakdown within there, or a deep-rooted, I don't know what to call it, but that cultural stigma and normalization of pain that women must just push through, and that it's part of it. Had they just spoken to each other, they would have found that, hey, look, this is not normal. This is what we're dealing with. And then they could have been, diagnosis most likely much sooner, management. Not that there is a cure, but you can manage the pain and some of the symptoms. Having that conversation sooner could have solved a lot of problems. And it just goes into the system where we are just very silent about what we're going through. And so therefore it makes it difficult to then maybe clearly explain to even the doctor, and we're like, no, I'm fine, I'm okay, but there is some pain. No, I think I tell people sometimes, no, you need to be a crybaby. If you are in excruciating pain, you need to be honest about it. Don't downplay it, because that then becomes an issue even with healthcare practitioners. There are some who aren't as educated. You find yourself as the patient or as an advocate, knowing not to downplay the work of healthcare professionals, but you find that you know more studies, you know some of the remedies or solutions that people are using in the space, and you find a doctor saying, "Oh, okay, no, I'll go read up on that. I wasn't aware," or I'm not sure, and this is what women are going through. And so just that system where the conversation is not being had, cultural, again, society, there's a certain perception of us, and then also not having the right access or tools within the system, you find yourself stuck and then just quiet. And so the cycle then continues of not saying anything, no one's being educated, no one's empowered. So for me, it's been important to show that this is not as silent or invisible a condition as people think. If you look at it, we refer to it as a dynamic disability. For some, you find some needing to use a cane, or like myself, who has experienced being on the couch for 12 hours, not being able to move in excruciating pain. That is not normal. That isn't something that should be part of being a woman or being on my cycle. That is not okay. So if we pay attention, I think we'll see that there is a bigger issue and it goes so much deeper. So for me, my work has really just been to show the impact and the realities of endometriosis, that it's not just a bad period, and how it touches every aspect of your life and beyond just the womb. It's your back pain, mental health, career, it's everything.
So is this a full-time role that you're actually holding?
So I'm formalizing the Heal Endo movement as of March 2026. So, Endometriosis Awareness Month was in March. So I'm getting into the, formal aspect of it. And my advocacy has really just been, me using my voice on social media, creating a petition which has, gained over 70,000 signatures, and
Wow.
recently partnering with amazing women, including Candace, the Minister of Menstruation, Nogzola of Team Free Sanitary Pads, who just had this discussion in Parliament to implement the Menstrual Health Rights Bill, and so it's been amazing working and collaborating with these people. But in terms of my own foundation and work, I'm formalizing it now. But my voice has just been used mainly on social media to share the realities of not only mine but other people who are dealing with this incredibly debilitating condition, and that is including PCOS, fibroids, ovarian cysts, and adenomyosis.
So once you formalize this, please God, it happens sooner rather than later. Will it become a full-time role for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the Heal Endo movement is something that I believe will go beyond just South Africa. As much as there is a lot of work to be done, I also see that there's a strong connection with the things we deal with in South Africa and in Botswana. I've connected with people in Kenya, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and because South Africa is usually leading in a lot of things, we share ideas, we share resources. So this movement is hopefully going to grow and touch the lives of people beyond just South Africa and hopefully globally. I am also going to curate a summit to hopefully gain more awareness and more people involved, that we can find solutions to manage pain, to hopefully get funding for research so that we can find a cure, and just increase awareness and space, so that we can have it as a normal part of society, the same way we run TB campaigns or HIV. I'm hoping that endometriosis can be one of those that is normal every month. I mean, every year we recognize it as something that affects society and thousands of women.
So you're going to formalize your foundation, and I'm hoping that we know that policy change is very slow in our country. And we also know that it needs to shift policy at healthcare level right now. But in practice, do you believe that you can make those shifts possible with your advocacy work?
Oh, absolutely. I believe with the work that I've done until this point, there has been an increase in awareness. There have been, plenty of coverage, if I can say that. Not as much as I would hope, but these conversations are happening. I'm seeing more advocates in the space now than what I did when I first got into the space. It was very difficult for me to find a community, whereas now, there's quite a few of us. You can identify us in the endometriosis space, whereas a few years ago, not as much. And so, even without, if I can say, the paperwork, for me, the work continues. And so, you have to, as an individual, look at how will I formalize this? What are the steps I need to take? But outside of that, for me, because I believe I'm called to do this, the work continues regardless of whether there's the paperwork, because I can collect funds to give to someone who can go and pay for their, medication. I can give someone a spotlight where they can share their video and say, hey, I need help. I'm struggling. I can listen to someone and say that I understand, I get it. I've created also spaces where people can share their daily struggles, where their family members aren't really going to understand, and I'm never going to get tired of hearing that I'm in pain every single day. Whereas the system, there's no follow-ups with the system. You can't see your psychologist every single day. It's not sustainable. But with someone who understands, or you have access to, like me, literally you can send me a DM and say, I'm struggling. I've made myself available because I believe I'm called to do this and be in this space. So formal or not, for me, the work continues, and people have shown their support. Organizations are jumping in, and I think the work will be done either way.
How long have you been running this foundation?
So I'm formalizing it officially this year. It's been since March that I launched, and I was
March of this year or March of last year?
March of 2026, and I've been
Okay, so
advocating for.
why has it taken so long to formalize this movement?
So, in terms of the structures of nonprofits, it can take a while. You need a number of
Ah,
directors. You need to have certain things in place before you can establish it. So, for me, I believe in being fully aligned with who I work with, but that hasn't stopped me from collaborating with other people in this space. But in terms of my own NPO, I mean, I've spoken to someone who said it took 6 years to formalize their nonprofit, and this is with the help of a professional and someone guiding them along the way. So I didn't want that structure or the paperwork to hinder me from, you know, um, doing the work, or else I would be waiting for a few years until it's official. So what I
oh,
am approaching it as is, it will operate as a nonprofit, but I'm also hoping to have this social enterprise aspect and hopefully empower women to um, be able to hopefully get some employment, or make some money, or just empower themselves and be able to do things under the Heal Endo movement enterprise, where they can be able to do things for themselves, as many have lost jobs, they've lost their main breadwinner because of this condition. So I'm looking at the avenues of really working through that way.
okay, we need to wrap up. We've almost come to the end of the show. And you rightly say that a lot of women, because of the condition, don't have the ability, because they're in constant pain all the time, are unable to work and maintain stability, or because they are employed, but because of the acute pain, they are on sick leave more days in the month that they're actually at work. And because of that, of course, they then lose their employment. So, yeah, it's long overdue that we need to support women suffering from this condition. Does it also mean, and a quick short answer, please, that women suffering from this condition are unable to conceive and bear babies?
So not always the case. You find that women with endometriosis can bear children. It can lead to infertility, but it doesn't always mean that you will be infertile.
Someone listening into us today suspects that they may have the condition but feels dismissed or unheard. What is the most important step they ought to be taking to advocate for themselves, apart from perhaps even connecting up with you?
I think I would say tracking your symptoms and listening to your body. You know yourself more than anything. Don't doubt that feeling that something's off. That's been what's led me and many other people saying, I just listened to something that just wasn't sitting right with me, and then I investigated it. And so trust that. Best case, there's nothing going on, but go ahead and get it checked out and trust your own intuition.
Bontle Moka, it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. Good luck with formalizing your foundation. I hope it happens real soon. And I just think this is awesome. Lots of healing to you and all the women that reach out to you. And please just carry on with the healing through your registered foundation, hopefully in a month or two. God bless and take care. Till the next time.
Thank you so much.
Lovely talking to you. It's exactly 1:02, and that, of course, means it's time for me to wrap up. Thank you indeed for your company. I do hope you've enjoyed the interviews that we shared with you on the show right here on Mid Morning Talk. From me, Julie Ali, till next week, Monday at 8 o'clock on News and Views. You take care for the rest of the week. And all I can say is some of you are still on holiday with your kids. Enjoy. Take it easy, but take care on the roads. Assalamu alaikum.